Thank you very much for joining me for this session of Dr. Plotzker's Mind. This is the week that I deep six social media. I started yesterday, did very well, and I'm doing very well today. The intent is to have this for 7 consecutive days. So far, so good. Now, each social media has to be assessed a little bit differently. I am skipping them all, at least I think I am. My go-to social media, like most people, is Facebook. I have some very mixed feelings about Facebook. I signed on, I believe in 2009. I had been visiting my son who had just gotten a new job in New York City. We got the Sunday Times and they had a feature on the emergence of Facebook. I signed up when I got home a day or two later to be greeted by about 40 high school friends who now became Facebook friends. It was a little bit of voyeurism, perhaps, to be curious about what became of them in the 40 years since we had graduated high school, particularly with the 40th reunion looming a few months later, where I would get to see many of them in person, and in fact did. It was a reconnection of friendships. And with conversation, some of those people became closer to me electronically than they were in person when we attended classes or rode the school bus together. That aspect of Facebook has long since been hijacked. Those Facebook friends eventually accumulated in various forms to about 100. Since we are largely in our 70s, not everybody survived those subsequent 15 years. And of the people who did, the number of people I hear from has drastically plummeted. I can count on about, maybe 3 or 4 people posting in a way that I would want to respond. Most of those are people who I actually was close to as a teenager, a few not. But it's certainly not the conversational group of a dozen years ago. In its place, I am burdened with advertising. I am burdened with political presentations. Now, I would expect my high school friends to take different paths geographically, economically, and politically. A number of them are quite different from me. I am very tolerant of them. They are, after all, people that I know, and people who would not hurt anyone. Though I must say, some of the posts, those posters would have been gone if I did not know them personally. I have my teams, my home teams, my college teams, teams that I root for, and I have some others that intrude. But mostly I have advertising and political positions and some very unwelcome things staring me in the face most days. I've separated myself from it for short times before, mostly in the form of an experiment like I am doing now, and I'm never the worst off for it. My next social media outlet has been Reddit. Now, Reddit is something that I kind of enjoy. It's not toxic, at least the Judaism portion of it is not. I've had some negative experiences with some of the other subjects, but certainly not with Judaism or Jewish cooking, which are things that I enjoy. I'm actually quite helpful to a number of people, but it's also somewhat intrusive. And while initially it was a novelty, one in which I could immerse myself, the novelty has long since worn off. They notify me when my comments get somebody else's comments. That goes to my email. And since my initiative to avoid social media began, I have deleted those notifications without opening. The most problematic of my social media is Twitter, now rated X. While it has a reputation of being, uh, toxic with hate groups and anti-Semites and various things, I've actually not found it that way. What I do find are people pitching their agendas, and the first one or two times they do that, okay, thank you for your comment. The fifth time the comment is repetitive. The sixth time I don't want to see it. What it can be useful for is commenting on articles. I follow the Forward and the Atlantic, where articles are posted and people comment. For all the comments that I make on articles that I actually have read, other people make comments on articles they have not read, and accessing other people's comments is not trivial, so I don't do it very often. It's something that I probably shouldn't miss. There are also some very well-known people on Twitter, now rated X, who have thousands of followers. They're well-known people because they earn their prominence. Often journalists, but sometimes public officials. And while the public may care about them, I very quickly get the sense that they don't particularly care about us. Occasionally I will make a comment and get a message that somebody decided to follow me. When I look them up, what I often find is that they are following 4,000 people, but only 40 are following them. We live in an era of loneliness, some of which I probably experience myself, but I am not ready to latch on to 4,000 strangers to see which comments get through and live my life on a screen. That doesn't make any sense at all. So that one will be pretty easy to not open in the coming week. Email is not really social media, it's notification. It has a lot of intrusions in it, but you can't really avoid email and junk email any more than you could avoid what people send you from the postal service. It's there. You can toss it unopened into the into the recycle bin if it's paper, or just delete it or mark it as spam, or if the advertising gets too repetitive, unsubscribe. but there are enough parts of email that are useful that I don't really call it social media. What I will have to do is devise a system where I'm not constantly reading and responding piecemeal. I'm still experimenting with that, opening it when I get up in the morning, when I plan my day, opening it in the early afternoon, and then opening it for the last time after supper. We'll see how that works for a week. There's not a tremendous amount that's in it. A few notices from people that you do have to respond to, so you can't not have it. And it's easy enough to get rid of stuff like you would um, clutter type of mail. It's clutter, it's not toxic. So that's the plan for the week. One of the interesting things now that I'm 2 days into this is what I did instead. Well, I did some writing, I did some thinking, I did some shopping. I watched a symphony, two symphonies on YouTube, some folk music that I enjoy, read part of a book. There are things that I want to do, was hoping that this would create time to do, and it did. But maybe I don't want to do those things as much as I thought I would. The social media attraction is an excuse for not doing those uh, articles I want to write, rooms I want to clean. I've run out of that convenient excuse uh, without having that purposeful initiative take its place. I'm hoping that that will fall into place within the next day or two of this 1 week project. Thanks so much for sharing this session of Dr. Plotzker's Mind.